Hello everyone, good afternoon and thanks for tuning in to our live stream. We're talking about the fourth winter 2019-2020 update for this live stream. If you hear me okay, you can let me know through the live chat. That would be great. So I hope you all enjoyed the fourth winter update. It was another epic. I thought we'd probably bring it in under an hour, but actually it came out at an hour. It was another really epic video. So yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed the fourth winter 2019-2020 update. So we've got a few people in with us already. We've got Nick Wills in with us. So hi Nick, thanks for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. We've also got Global Weather Updates in with us. So hi Global Weather Updates, thanks for tuning in on your Sunday afternoon to our latest live stream. Callum Evans is with us. So hi Callum, thank you for tuning in. And hope you're having a lovely Sunday afternoon, my friend. And also we've got Gary Hurd in with us as well. So hi Gary, thank you for tuning in this afternoon. It's still this afternoon, I think. So 5 o'clock, funny time of the day. It's either afternoon or evening, but I think it's really still the afternoon until we put the clocks back an hour, and then I suppose it will be well and truly sort of evening time at 5 o'clock. So let's have a look at one or two more. So we've got Harvey Harbour in with us. Hi Harvey, thanks for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Also got John Williams in with us. So hi John Williams, thank you for tuning in this afternoon. Global Weather Updates is saying I have a feeling this winter will be mild. So we're set up for mild winters, of course. The cold winter is like an exception to the norm. So, I mean, the odds always favour a milder than average winter in the UK. But of course, we can get deviations from that. And when we get cold winters, they will be the exceptions to the norm, but they do occur. And we haven't had one for a little while, although 2017-18 was a little bit colder than the previous winters, but it was a particularly cold winter until the beast of the east at the end of February. So haven't had a properly cold winter since early on in the decade. So we are due for a cold winter, and who knows, maybe this one will be it in 2019-2020. Got a long way to go with the winter updates, so it's very early days on these winter updates. We're not going to release a forecast until the 1st of December, so we've got a long way to go, and no doubt there'll be more twists and turns along the way. MSC Michael is with us, so thanks for tuning in to our live stream this afternoon. MSC Michael, and Peter Pan is with us as well, saying hello Gav, so hello to you Peter, hope you're having a lovely afternoon. Adam Blunsdon is with us, and it's nearly Adam's birthday, so happy birthday Adam for when your birthday is. So MSC Michael is saying I personally predicted quite a stormy autumn and winter ahead. So been very quiet autumn so far, of course, lots of high pressure through this September, but maybe we're on the start of things beginning to ramp up. We'll have to wait and see about that. Just to say, I'm going to answer as many of your questions as I can. Last week we did run out of time, and I can only run this until 6 o'clock because then I'm going to go off and write up the written version for the winter 2019-2020 update. So I have to do a written version of that just in case anybody can't watch the video for whatever reason. The videos are very long, they're an hour. Not everybody has an hour to sit down and watch me doing a weather video. So some people prefer to just have a read of the basic summary. So I always have to do that whenever I do any of these long range updates. And Google also likes written content, so it helps. Gavsworthies.com, there's a written version to go with the video. So at 6 o'clock I'll have to go off and do that. If I don't have time to answer your question, or I miss your question through the live chat, then very sorry about that. We're going to do this every week, though, right way through to winter forecast on the 1st of December. So you can, of course, ask your question again next week. I'm sure we'll get round to it. You can also super chat. You don't have to super chat, but it is a way of highlighting your questions. So when that happens, it sort of shows up to me in a bright box, and you will get a response, definitely, if you super chat, because I'll be able to see it highlighted. So that's one of the ways round it. If you desperately want to have your question answered, but otherwise it's just a case of I'm going through the live chat as we're doing it, and I'm trying to get as many questions in as I can, but obviously what happened last week, we had a big response. We may not be able to get to everybody's question. We've got 54 people watching us right now, so thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, smash the like button, and let us know that you are enjoying this live stream. I think last week we got very close to 90 last week, maybe just short of 90 people watching last week. So whether we can do better than that, we'll have to wait and see. I always appreciate people tuning in on a Sunday afternoon. I know you're all very, very busy people, and you've got lots of other things going on. So it's always really, really great and really kind of you to tune into these live streams. And I said we do these live streams with the winter updates. I wasn't sure whether we get that much of a response, really. I wasn't sure there's going to be any demand for it. Normally we only do live streams, the ones with content when there's something happening, like there's snow event looming or something like that. So I wasn't sure whether there'd be any demand for weekly live streams on the channel, but it seems there is. It seems we're gradually growing a little bit of an audience. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, not just today, but over the past weeks, and hopefully in the weeks to come. Right, let's answer a few more of your questions and have a look at the live chat. So we've got to VK24 in with us. Hi, VK, thanks for tuning in this afternoon. Alex Duncan is with us. So just switched from your winter forecast to this winter update, I think Alex means. Quite something with those equatorial SSTs. Very confusing. Yes, it is. It's a really confused year again with the sea surface temperature anomalies in the equatorial Pacific Ocean, Alex. So you'll have gleaned from the winter update, and I'm very unsure where things are going with ENSO for this winter at the moment. You would look at the sea surface temperature anomalies on their own through the equatorial Pacific Ocean. You would assume that we're going into a weak La Nina, because it does have that kind of weak La Nina signature, especially in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. But everything else, subsurface-wise, and the Southern Oscillation Index, and also all of the modelling, everything else is pointing to either ENSO neutral on the warm side, or possibly even a weak El Nino for this winter. So it's undoubtedly going to be the case that we won't be able to do the analogues for ENSO for this winter until very late on. They'll probably be just about the last thing you see right at the end of November. That's how confused things are. And as I said in the winter update, it has been something that we've seen quite a bit of over the past few years. I'm not sure why it's the case, really. But normally with ENSO, you kind of have it locked in where you're going to be by around sort of June, July time. Normally middle of the summer, you will have a pretty good idea where you will be in the second half of the year. But over the past 2 or 3 years, it has very much been the case that we have got into winter updates. We've been unsure where things are going with ENSO. And it's another one of those again this year. So it would be nice if we could just have a straightforward either sort of El Nino, La Nina, or ENSO signature as we begin these winter updates for a change, as would normally, historically, be the case, but I'm unsure why things are so uncertain in the ENSO region at the moment. But yeah, those analogues for ENSO for the winter forecast, they'll be right at the very, very end of these updates, I would have thought, in November. Alpha SB is with us saying hi, Gav. Hi, Alpha. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Max Crazy Storm is with us, saying, I do not like the long-range models of the latest video. I need snow to thrive. So, yeah, after the winter update, of course, we released the ECMWF, Meteo France, and DWD seasonal model roundup. And that also, of course, follows on from last night's CFS 6 months look ahead. All of the modelling at the moment appears to be pointing us towards a zonal mild winter. I would have thought they're all probably picking up on similar things, although the CFS always seems to be showing milder conditions, particularly so in the winter. So I wouldn't worry about that model. But in terms of the ECM and Meteo France and DWD, remember these are very, very exclusive models. It was only a couple of years ago that this was really sort of premium stuff. The general public was not able to see the ECMWS seasonal model or the Meteo France seasonal model or the DWD seasonal model, for that matter. All of those were just kept back for sort of pro Mets. The general public were not able to see those models. So they're premium models, and they are all sort of going in the same direction for this winter, which is rather Atlantic-driven and mild. I would have thought they're picking up on the same things. The only saving grace about that is that last year they was all showing northern blocking for the winter, and whilst we did get quite a lot of blocking last winter, actually they weren't wrong on that. We did actually get a lot of northern blocking last winter. We never got any particularly cold weather other than for a week or so in January. So if you want a cold winter, I wouldn't necessarily be all that concerned about model output. Of course, on Saturday we're going to do the first seasonal model roundup for the winter of 2019-2020. Going to get all of the long range models together. There'll be around 12 of them, and we'll see what they're all showing then. And I would think the consensus is likely going to be towards Atlantic driven and zonal for this winter, but we shall see. There may be models in there that are deviating. We know CAN6 is deviating a little bit from that idea of a zonal winter. We've got 61 people watching us on our live stream this afternoon, so hello and thank you so much for tuning in to our live stream this afternoon. It's very, very kind of you tuning in. Please give us a like, smash the like button, and let us know that you are enjoying our live stream this afternoon. Shiram is with us saying evening coming. So evening Shiram, it's one of those funny times of the day. Is it afternoon? Is it evening? So good afternoon or good evening, whatever you prefer. And thanks for tuning in, Shiram, on this Sunday afternoon / evening. Let's see if we can have a look at one or two more of your comments. So I'm going to scroll down through the chat. And we got to VK24 saying, do you think this year's hurricane season will help with northern blocking in the winter? So the idea behind that, VK, is that you've got these tropical storms and hurricanes in the tropical Atlantic. And what a tropical storm hurricane is doing, essentially, it's distributing heat from the tropics around the northern hemisphere and ultimately getting that warmth into the polar regions. So it's kind of like one of the ways the Earth's thermostat works, if you like. If you get lots of storms dumping lots of warmth into the mid-latitudes and up to the polar regions, then that can eventually translate back to an increased risk of northern blocking. This is an old Joe Bastardi methodology, Joe Bastardi from AccuWeather.com back in the day, of course. I'd like to include it in the winter updates because I think it's quite an interesting thing to look at anyway. Hurricanes, tropical storms, even if they don't have an impact on your winter weather, it's interesting to keep an eye on the hurricane season. So on its own, I wouldn't use that methodology as to forecast a cold winter, if you see what I mean. If you have a very active hurricane season on its own, that I don't think that would be enough to be able to forecast a cold winter or to get a cold winter. But of course, we're looking at all of these things in combination with one another, almost doing it in a multidisciplinary type way. So combining an active hurricane season, say with a easterly QPO and with a rapid advanced snow cover across Siberia and also with a tripole in the Atlantic, then that would start to move you towards the possibility of northern blocking and a colder winter, of course. But on its own, I don't think an active hurricane season would be enough to be able to either forecast a cold winter or to achieve a cold winter. Mark Johnson is with us saying, afternoon Gav, loved the update before as usual. I think afternoon 12 to 6, then evening 6 to midnight, give them 6 hours each. Lol. So there we go. 5 o'clock is still afternoon. Mark thinks 5 o'clock is still in the afternoon. That's what I would think until we put the clocks back, and then if it's dark, then I think we can say 5 o'clock is in the evening. Carl is with us saying, hi Gav, do you think this winter season will be prone to more sudden stratospheric warming events? So that's one of the things that you can't really forecast until you get into the winter, Carl, although we do look at the strength of the zonal winds, both in terms of how strong the zonal winds are at 10 HPA over the North Pole at the moment, and also what the model output is forecasting. You have a weakened zonal wind, then obviously you are at a greater chance of beginning to think about a sudden stratospheric warming, but that really is something that you can only predict when it begins to appear within the shorter range model output. So I don't think we could say yes or no whether this winter will be more prone to sudden stratospheric warming events or not. Of course, a sudden stratospheric warming is primarily the way that we will get ourselves to cold conditions through the winter. So I suppose if we was to come away with the idea that this winter is likely to be a colder than average winter, if that's what we finish up going forward in the winter forecast, then that would suggest, I suppose, inevitably that that would happen through an increasing amounts of sudden stratospheric warming events. So I suppose there is a bit of a connection there, but you won't be able to forecast sudden stratospheric warming events this far in advance, really, I don't think. Now, I've got 70 people watching us this afternoon, so hello, and thank you so much for tuning in to our live stream this afternoon. We're talking about the 4th Winter 2019-2020 update. I'm answering your questions in the live chat. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Don't forget to give us a like and let us know that you are enjoying our live stream this afternoon. Nadeem is with us saying, very confusing pattern with the actual SST temperatures and Southern Oscillation Index. Did not expect it, to be honest. Was just watching the 4th Winter Update. So I hope you enjoyed the 4th Winter Update, Nadeem. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon to our live stream. And as I said, I hope you enjoyed the winter update. Yeah, it's a very, very confused picture what's happening in the equatorial Pacific Ocean at the moment. The discrepancy between the Southern Oscillation Index on the one hand, which is pointing towards actually a kind of a strong El Nino type atmospheric pattern in the Southern Ocean, and the fact that we have generally sort of a weak La Nina signature in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Anyway, you have that colder than average area of SST. So quite where this is going, I'm very unsure, I have to say, and it's important when we do anything with these videos. It's important when we're unsure, we don't know. It's important that we admit it and say we don't know. And this is one of those situations where I really don't know what is happening with ENSO at the moment. Hopefully the situation will resolve itself. It will all become clearer by the time we get to do the winter forecast on the 1st of December. But at this stage, it really is a very, very confused picture. It's just going to be a case of watching and observing to see what happens with ENSO. Mark Kinish is with us. Hi, Gavin. 2 questions to ask you. The first one is on the winter update today. It showed cooler than average coming back to the Atlantic. Does that mean bad news for getting cold weather for us? Not really, Mark. I think that the Atlantic generally still is in a warmer than average state. There has been a slight cool down compared to last week. But there's nothing significantly colder than average in terms of obviously surface temperature anomalies in the Atlantic at the moment. And what we'll be looking for as we go through the autumn and heading into winter, we'll actually be looking for a re-emergence of the tripole that we have setting up during May and then carrying on into June. So I won't be overly concerned about what the Atlantic is doing at the moment. Keep an eye on what's happening around Newfoundland as well. We could have been seeing the first signs since perhaps of something a little bit colder beginning to develop with those sea surface temperature anomalies around Newfoundland. And that's something we didn't have back in the spring and early summer, actually. We did have a tripole, warm over cold over warm, but we didn't have a classic tripole where the cold area stretched down the eastern seaboard of America. So that's something we're going to be looking for over the next few weeks. We might have just been starting to see the first sign of that, actually, with those Atlantic sea surface temperature anomalies in this fourth winter update. VK is asking, Gav, what was your coldish year you have experienced? So, born in 77, so I was actually alive for 79, the winter of discontent. So that's the coldest winter that I've lived through, I would have thought, but I don't really have any memories of it. I can remember a bit about 81, 82. That was a cold winter. Of course, the mid-1980s winter was very cold. Lived through 1987. That's probably the single coldest spell of weather since 1740. Also, February 1991. Of course, that was pretty severe. And then more recently, I've got the December to remember in 2010, and also the winter of 09-10, which was a cold winter. That was the coldest winter since 1979. So, yeah, I lived through a few cold winters, but I can't remember anything about 78, 79, unfortunately. But I was around when that winter was taking place, let's put it like that. We've got MSC Michael saying, are we due a cold October? So, the autumn forecast, going off from winter for a moment, the autumn forecast suggests September and October has a lot of high pressure, probably milder than average both months, but September is not going to be substantially milder than average. In fact, it is probably going to turn out to be very, very close to average in the end, in terms of the temperature, certainly for the central England region anyway. Despite all of these sunny days that we have had relatively cool nights offsetting. So I would suspect October probably starts quite unsettled, but I think we'll get ourselves back to high pressure relatively quickly. That's what I would anticipate, and that's what the autumn forecast suggested. And probably a relatively mild month again during October. Watch out for November to do something different. That was showing up within the autumn forecast. That could be something different, either from going from high pressure to low pressure and being a very wet month, or possibly something quite a bit colder. He was unsure within the autumn forecast about that, but I would have thought out of the three autumn months, November is the one that has the greatest chance, anyway, of being rather colder than average, perhaps. So give us a thumbs up and a like, and let us know that you are enjoying our live stream discussing the fourth winter 2019-2020 update. And thanks so much to all of you for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Mark Nish, second one. If the QBO doesn't go into easterly phase, does that mean it'll never happen again? That's a rather dramatic question, Mark. No, it does not mean that if the easterly QBO doesn't, if we don't go into an easterly QBO for this winter, it won't happen again. The QBO is very regular, and although we have the situation back in 2015-16 where the easterly QBO failed and we stayed in the westerly QBO phase, that's very unusual, very rare. I wouldn't anticipate that's going to happen. I wouldn't anticipate that's going to happen at all this time, and we'll have more easterly QBOs, I can guarantee you that, my friend. Apple UK 123, hi Gavin, if the usual winter pattern is low pressure towards Iceland and high pressure towards the Azores, shouldn't that lead to a near average temperature anomaly? So that's an interesting question, actually, Apple. So the way we generate our sort of mean setup, which of course is high pressure in the Azores and low pressure around Iceland, the way we generate that and think about that in terms of the temperature anomaly, which would lead to a milder than average winter. I'm unsure about that, actually, Apple, so that's a good question. And you would have thought, yes, that if our sort of mean setup is for west to southwesterly winds, then we should have a higher average temperature, perhaps, than you might expect, or a higher average temperature average for the winter than we do. So, of course, we are prone, although that's our mean setup, we are prone in any winter, even very mild winters, we're prone to getting northerly or easterly winds and easterly outbreaks and northerly outbreaks even within mild winters. So I suppose that's what pulls the temperature anomaly down a little bit. But that's a good question. I haven't never given that a great deal of thought, actually, so thanks for asking that. I've got Chris Newman with us. So hi Gav, fantastic fourth winter update. I note that 1888 winter analog has popped up a couple of times in the first winter updates. Do you think this comparison picking up in importance for this year? So that's associated, I think, Chris, with last week's summer pattern matches, where we did note that winter of 1887, 1888 had quite a similar sort of pattern in terms of the setup during the summer of 1887 compared to summer 2019. It's also shown up this week in terms of the temperature anomaly. It'd be interesting whether that shows up next week when we look at summer precipitation and winter analogues for summer rainfall. Bear in mind, that's a very, very long time ago, back in the Victorian era, and even if we was to get a re-emergence of that kind of pattern for this winter, it probably wouldn't deliver quite as cold conditions as it would have done back then. But we'll see next week anyway, whether 1887, 1888 crops up when we look at summer 2019 precipitation, as it has done with summer 2019 temperature and also last week's summer pattern matches. Mr. Burns is with us. Hi Gav, looks like it will be a mild winter according to CFS, DWD, Meteo France and ECMWF. I would love an exceptionally mild winter like 2015-16. Well, I don't think that's going to be a particularly popular idea, Mr. Burns, within the live chat here. But yes, there are significant numbers of people who don't like cold weather, and whilst a lot of people watching these videos are hoping that we're going to have a cold winter, it's by no means everybody, and there are people who are hoping and wanting a mild winter, and at the moment, certainly from the model side of things, anybody who wants a mild winter, the model output seems to be good news for you, although we haven't actually done the first winter seasonal model roundup yet, so that will be to come on Saturday, and then we will get a much clearer idea of just how much model support there is for these westerly winds, and zonal conditions through the winter. But definitely, you're not alone. There are people out there who are hoping for a milder than average winter. Most definitely. Got 72 people watching us now. So big thank you to all of you for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Please smash the like button and let us know that you are enjoying this live stream this afternoon discussing the fourth winter 2019-2020 update. So, do one or two more. We've got Mark Johnson saying Arctic refreeze should be getting underway over the next few days. Also, I want to say a big thanks to you, Gav, for doing all of this. You work very hard, and people often forget how much prep goes into each of the videos. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for saying that. That's really, really kind. And yeah, the winter updates are very, very extensive, and I mean, I enjoy doing them, but they do take a lot of time. It's around sort of 5 hours, really, from start to finish on a Saturday night to get all of the charts and websites loaded up, and then to do the recording. And then I've got to wait for the recording to then process and upload it to YouTube, and all of that takes several hours, really, on a Saturday evening. But everybody enjoys them, and as long as people want to see them, I'm happy to do them. We're really pushing pushing the boundaries, I think, with these winter updates. We're pushing the envelope with long-range forecasting in terms of long-range forecasting, and something very experimental and quite exciting that we're doing, I think, with these winter updates. Certainly, I hope that comes across when I'm doing the videos, sort of the enthusiasm about what we're doing, because I don't think there's really anybody else that's doing what we're doing to the same level with these winter updates. So I think it's very exciting and pushing the boundaries, but it's up to everybody what they think really with winter updates, but they do seem to be popular. They seem to go down quite well. So as long as people want to see them, I'm happy to do them, and thanks so much for your comments, Mark. So Anna Blunson is asking, Gavs, I've got a question for you. Does Barry do Barry's mean a cold for this winter? So I'm not sure what that's about, Adam, but we shall see whether we're going to have a cold winter or not. Moving along, we've got Paul James with us, so thanks for tuning in, Paul. Thanks so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon, getting towards Sunday evening now, of course. Hi, Gavs. Thanks for the videos you do. So thank you so much, Paul, for your lovely comment, and thanks for being with us on this Sunday afternoon for our live stream. Don't forget to give us a like and a thumbs up and let us know that you are enjoying the live stream. Harvey Harbour is with us, saying, last night I was out in the garden, there was lightning and thunder and very heavy showers in South West Wales. So yes, there's been some pretty big downpours and showers around this afternoon, Harvey, and the prolonged dry spell of weather is breaking down very, very rapidly now. So we're going to have a much more autumnal week with plenty of rain and showers to come. Sherman is asking, how are you going? Do you think Pacific SSTs and Atlantic SSTs are more important for our winter forecast, or are they both about the same? So out of the two, I would probably say that the Atlantic is more important for us than the Pacific, purely because that is our sort of next door neighbour, if you like. The Atlantic is the ocean that we live with and that we know so well. So out of the two, I would wait within the winter forecast what's happening with the Atlantic, a little bit over what's happening with the Pacific. But on the other hand, the Pacific is a much larger ocean. It's more expansive, and certainly when ENSO gets going very strongly, then that has the power to override everything. If you have a tripole in the Atlantic, but you also have a strong or a super El Nino, for example, that's what happened winter of 97, 98, by the way, then that strong super Nino will override everything else, and you'll finish up more than likely with an exceptionally mild winter, and that's exactly what happened in winter of 1997, 1998. I've always been convinced that that winter, 97, 98, would have been a cold winter. It would have been a third cold winter, starting with 95, 96, and then 96, 97. I think 97, 98 would have been a cold winter if it wasn't for the Super Nino, because everything else was set up, solar activity was still at a very low level, was just coming out of the solar minimum. We've got a tripole in the Atlantic. I think it's an easterly QPO as well, not sure. But definitely 97, 98 was well primed to be cold, but we had the Super Nino and it overrode everything else. What we finished up with was an exceptionally mild winter, albeit with a lot of northern blocking as well. So it was a very funny winter with lots of warm southerly winds. Without the Super Nino, I think it would probably have been cold. But out of the two, assuming you don't have a Super Nino or a very strong La Nina, out of the two, I would probably say that for us, because it's our next door neighbour, the Atlantic Ocean, out of the two, is probably the most important factor for us out of the two of the oceans. Alpha SB is saying, I'm guessing we'll get an ENSO neutral winter. So that's where I would think we're likely to be for this winter, Alpha. I've got a feeling that the cold of an average sea surface temperature anomalies in the Pacific will be offset by the atmospheric setup, which is primed, seems to be primed towards El Nino. And what we'll finish up with is both of those things offsetting one another. and will probably end up at ENSO neutral in the end. But it is certainly a confused picture. I certainly wouldn't rule out either a weak El Nino, and I still wouldn't rule out a weak La Nina, purely because of how those sea surface temperature anomalies are looking. We've got 75 people watching us this afternoon, so hello, and big thank you to all of you for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon / Sunday evening. Don't forget to give us a like and let us know that you are enjoying the live stream discussing the fourth winter 2019-2020 update. So Gary Hurd is with us, saying I rarely comment but followed you forever and use you over TV, and you are always spot on. Well, that's very, very kind, Gary. Thank you so much for your lovely comment, friend. The BBC and the UK Met and whatnot, they're great at what they do. We're not in competition with them at all. I've got friends in the UK Met and BBC forecasters, so I'm very, very very respectful of what they're doing. I think we complement one another quite well, actually, because what we're doing with GavsWeb is something a little bit different, really. We're sort of pushing the boundaries of particularly the medium and longer range forecasting and things. We do the shorter range as well, so we do the 5-day forecast and weekend forecast, but the primary focus is more sort of medium to longer range stuff here at GavsWeb. So I think we complement one another quite well. But thank you so much for the lovely comment, Gary. That really is very, very kind. Siren is with us. Remember 2016-17 being an extremely weak La Nina, and it ended very early too by November or December. So yeah, that was another one of those confusing years that we've had a few of recently, Siren, with ENSO. It seems every year at the moment it's always a case that you don't know what's going to happen with ENSO until very late on with the winter update. So the last really clear-cut winter that we had for ENSO, I think, was when we had the Super Nino 2015-16. There was no doubt about what that winter was going to do. And that's the last time, though, but I think we had a clear-cut signal for ENSO right at the beginning of winter update. Since then, it does seem to have been a very, very confused picture indeed. I'm going to scroll down through the chat, so thank you so much for commenting and asking questions. We've got 80 people watching us now, so that's the highest that we've had for this live stream so far. Big thank you to all of you for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. So, see if we can answer one or two more. We've got MSC Michael saying, I've got loads and loads of comments as well this afternoon. Really blown away by all of the comments that we've got. I'm not sure I'll be able to get through all of them. So, again, last week I didn't quite get through all of the comments. We've got to finish at 6 o'clock, so we're going to go off and write up the written version of this fourth winter update. So if I can't get your comment in, then very sorry about that. I'm answering as many as I can. And you can always ask again next week. Don't forget, you can super chat, and then your comment will be highlighted. It'll stand out, so I'll be able to see it, and you will get an answer then. But otherwise, we're scrolling through the live chat, and I'm trying to get through as many as I can. So, answer one or two more. We've got VK saying, so Cycle 25 is very low. I never seen this since Dalton minimum, I think. What about you? So, yeah, we talked about Cycle 25. At the moment, NASA is forecasting that it will be similar in strength to it's forecasting to be similar in strength to the current solar cycle number 24. But there is a range of error, a margin of error with that, and if it was to fall in on the low side of that margin of error, then it would take us under solar cycle 24 in terms of the strength of the solar cycle, and then we would be talking about being down at Dalton minimum levels. So we shall see. All will be revealed with solar cycle 25 very, very shortly, I think. Katrine Beso is with us. Will not knowing the outcome of the ENSO forecast cause more problems in forecasting the winter 2019, winter 2019-2020. So, Katrina, I'm hoping that by the time we get through to November, we will have a clear idea about what's going to happen with ENSO, whether that be ENSO neutral, or whether we go into a weak El Nino, or whether we have a weak La Nina even. So I'm hoping by the time we get through to the end of November, by the time we get through to the last couple of winter updates, we should know by then what's going to happen with ENSO. But fingers crossed that's the case. If that wasn't to be the case, then that would certainly add a layer of uncertainty to the winter forecast, definitely. But hopefully, by the time we get through to November, we'll have a decent idea about what's happening with ENSO for this winter. I've got somebody saying it would be a cold winter for Greece. I think it will be a cold winter for Greece with a question mark. So we shall see. If we have a mild winter in the north and west of Europe, one of the ways the weather balances itself out is that southeast of Europe tends to be colder if we're mild in the north and west of Europe. So if we have a mild winter, that would tend to favour perhaps areas like the Balkans, Turkey, Greece, those are the southeastern parts of Europe, to be a little bit colder perhaps. But it's too early to say either way on that. Although when Greece gets heavy snow, for us here in the UK, it does drive a lot of the snow lovers rather crazy, I have to say, when we see those pictures of snow piled up on the streets of Athens. Some of the cold lovers in the UK do get a little bit upset about that, actually. But we shall see. Anyway, it's very early days for forecasting anywhere in Europe at the moment. So, as I say, if we do go towards a milder winter, then it would probably suggest that the southeast could be a little bit colder, but we shall see about that. Tanner is with us saying, hi Gav, hi Tanner, thanks so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon / Sunday evening. We've also got JARIS993 with us saying, good evening Gav, good evening my friend, thanks for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. We've got 82 people with us right now, so again, please like and let us know, give us a thumbs up that you're enjoying this live stream discussing the fourth winter 2019-2020 update, and thanks so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Paul Stanya is with us. Hi Gav, have you seen enough to get excited for the coming winter, or do you think it needs a big driver that's yet to be seen? So it's too early either way, really, Paul said about that. I'm neither sort of excited about the prospects for this winter or particularly pessimistic. We're very, very early in the winter update still, although we're 4 updates in and they've all been running at around an hour. So it seems like we've been here quite a while talking about the winter between 2019 and 2020. Actually, we're still very early in the winter update. So at the moment, I would say quite a few of the things that we look at, like solar activity, possibly the QBO, the fact that we had a tripole in the Atlantic in the early summer, does point us maybe towards chance of a colder winter, but it's way too early yet to be talking in most sort of terms about being either excited or pessimistic for these winter prospects. Lukewarm is saying, hi Gav, looking forward to your solar special. Could you please explain that, please? So, yeah, one of the winter updates, I'm not sure which one it will be. I've got a feeling it will be sometime through October, possibly early November. One of the winter updates will focus with the analogues on solar cycle 24. So we'll look at solar minimum analogues, and I think with that we'll probably have a look at the solar cycle itself. We'll update all of the trackers and all of that kind of thing. So it'll be kind of like a mini sort of solar Sunday, if you like, combined with a winter update. So that should be quite exciting. I think we'll be doing that probably sometime in October. Solar cycles on the same sort of tangent is with us, saying as usual it's a minefield to negotiate. It's best to wait until November before attempting to draw conclusions. Yeah, that's exactly right, solar cycles. So it's only sort of September. We're very early in the winter updates. We've got to see how the situation evolves. There are some forecasters out there that are happy to put out their forecasts now for this winter and actually do so even earlier. That's not the way we work at Gaswell. Is we like to build up the picture forensically and sort of build week by week the situation and see how things are evolving. So that's the way we work at Gaswell is anyway, and it's one of those situations where as we go along, the picture should get clearer. So by the time we get through to November, we should have a better idea of what's going on. Going to scroll down through the chat a little bit more. So Tanner is asking, hi Gavin, what happens if you have high pressure at Greenland and high pressure in the Azores, northern blocking and the Azores high? By the way, your channel is great. Thank you so much, Tanner, for saying that about the channel. If that was to happen, then you would probably come away with a very similar winter to what we had last winter, actually, because last winter did have considerable amounts of northern blocking, sometimes centred around Greenland. At the same time, we also had quite a bit of high pressure through the Azores and ridging into Europe, and what we finished up with was a mild winter and also quite a dry winter, but with one sort of potentish cold snap in January. So if that was to happen, you was to kind of like get a positive NAO going against a negative AO, you will probably finish up with a very similar winter to what we had last year. Jake March Jones is with us. Hi Gab, it's Jake. Hope you're well. Yes, I'm fine. Thanks, my friend. Hope you enjoyed the winter update. Jake posts on the Gavsworthies chat at gavsworthies.com. We've got Math Mikey with us saying, hi Gav, what effect does the polar vortex have on our winters, or is it more for the US winter? So the polar vortex, of course, is what helps to drive zonality. Really, when you've got a strong PV, you'll have deep cold and deep low pressure over Greenland and back into the Arctic. Combining that, will typically bring a low pressure area around Iceland. And combining that with the Azores high, that will be what drives zonality. So for us, the polar vortex, when it's strong, when it's very intense, the polar vortex will tend to be associated with mild westerly, southwesterly winds, and it will drive in areas of low pressure and potentially stormy conditions from off the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, it is a situation where the polar vortex can collapse. That's what happens sometimes when you have a sudden stratospheric warming, and then you generate a big blocking area of high pressure over Greenland and over the Arctic. When that happens, it will kind of push the polar vortex out and down into the mid-latitudes. So I always talk about blocking as being the route to getting cold from the pole into the mid-latitudes. That happens because high pressure displaces low pressure and displaces the polar vortex from its roots over Greenland and over the Arctic and pushes it out and down into the mid-latitude. So when that happens, we can get very cold. Just depends where that cold is being pushed out, because just because you have blocking, it doesn't guarantee any one area will get cold. The cold conditions might go down into North America, or they might go down into Asia. Sometimes, though, they will get pushed down into the UK, Europe. A good example of that was the December to remember in 2010. Callum is asking, are we going to get any thunderstorms this week? It's going to be a very lively week, Callum. It's going to be lots of heavy showers. Could be some thunderstorms at times. So, yeah, I think it will be one of those weeks where we will be watching the radar and the lightning detector to see whether anything is sparking off. But it's certainly going to be a much more autumnal week this week. If you're ready for a bit of lively weather, if you're ready for some rain and some showers and some stronger winds, we're going to have all of that sort of thing this week. So it's definitely going to be more of an autumnal feel, I think, this week. So we've got Ben Kratz with us saying, enjoying very much, thank you. So thanks, Ben, thanks so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Don't forget to give us a like and let us know that you are enjoying the live stream by smashing the like button. Got Shaheen with us. Hi Gav, would 2021 the winter be very cold as we are coming out of solar minimum? So it may be that next winter actually has greater cold potential compared to this winter from a solar perspective anyway, if we are beginning to move out of solar minimum and go into the beginning of solar cycle number 25. Your greatest chance of getting a cold winter in terms of the solar cycles is at the beginning of the new solar cycle. So it could be that winter of 2021 actually has a slightly greater chance of being a bit colder. Jake is asking, Gav, you know I've been here since the beginning of Gavsworthies. Got to be a cold one this year. Surely I've waited long enough. I'll order a 62, 63. Cheers for everything. You know I love what you do, mate. Well, thank you so much, Jake. That's really, really kind. And thank you so much for that lovely comment. So we're happy to do what we're doing as long as people are enjoying it. So if you enjoy it, then we're happy to keep doing it. And yeah, you will get a cold winter before long. I can't say at this stage whether it will be this winter, but at some point, the law of averages suggests we're going to have a cold winter. So at some point, Jay, you will get that cold winter that you wait for. Not sure about a 62, 63 though. That will take some doing, I think. Mark Wilson is saying, hi, well done on the video prep. I am enjoying it. One question, does snow cover in Siberia tally with cold snow winters in the UK? So the reason we look at snow cover and how quickly it advances across Siberia is that if it happens very quickly, particularly through October, it can help to strengthen the Siberian high. Now, if you've got a strengthened Siberian high, that can sometimes push across Russia and into Europe and turn the wind into the east. So a strengthened Siberian high could suggest that we'd like to have a colder winter. But of course, what can happen with that is that the Siberian high will go over the Arctic, go over the pole and down into Canada. And that's something that we had in 2013-14, that dreadfully wet and stormy winter. And so the strengthened Siberian high with that winter actually became a real problem for us in the UK and in Europe too, because that cold air got pushed down into Canada and North America by that strengthened Siberian high. And of course, as that cold air spilt out of North America into the Atlantic, it blew up the jet stream and caused massive amounts of cyclogenesis. And that's the reason we came away with such a stormy, wet and mild winter. So a strengthened Siberian high from this situation with a strengthened Siberian high from this situation with a rapid advanced snow cover across Siberia can be a blessing if you want a cold winter, but it also can be a curse as well. I'm going to try and scroll down through one or two more of your comments. It's getting quite late now. I'm going to have to wrap this up at 6 o'clock, Garth, and write up the written version of the 4th Winter 2019-2020 update. We've got so many comments. It really is very, very kind of you all to be tuning in and sticking with the live stream and posting in the chat. So thank you so much. If I can't get your comment in today, I'm really happy for you to post it again next week, and eventually I will get round to answering it. Simon is asking to Gabs, I don't know if your nose is there is going to be a massive hurricane called Hurricane Lorenzo across the Atlantic right now. Yeah, I think we could have Lorenzo appearing in the next few days. So we've got a disturbance area, may even already have been named at the National Hurricane Centre. I'm not sure about that, but we've certainly got a disturbance area that's coming out of Africa into tropical Atlantic, but it's likely to be a tropical storm Lorenzo within the next day or so. It may even become a hurricane, so we shall see about that. Of course, we'll be keeping a close eye on that over the daily weather updates in the next few days. We've got Mark Clifford with us. Good evening. Just tuned in, so you're a little bit late, Mark, but never mind. Thanks for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon, nearly now Sunday evening. Let's try and see if we can get one or two more. So I've got Frank Cromack. Hello, Gavin. Any thoughts on the Beijing Climate Centre winter outlook? They seem to be quite accurate in the last year or two. I haven't shown it in a video yet, Frank, and I'm keeping it back until we do the first Season 1 roundup, winter of 2019-2020. That's going to be on Saturday, so I'm not going to say any more about that, but definitely it's going to be possible that we will be talking about Beijing Climate Centre a little bit more, definitely when we do the first Season 1 roundup for the winter of 2019-2020. Jeremy is asking, hello Gavin, do you think it's possible to invite James Ackrill to the chat to talk about the analogues? Would be great if that was possible. Yeah, definitely we could include our Analogs Guru, James, in the chat, in the live stream at some point. The difficulty about it, though, is the fact that Google have done away with Google Hangouts. So that does create a much more complicated situation, because the software I'm using at the moment to use live stream, Streamlabs, doesn't allow multiple users to stream together. So it's got rather complicated by Google getting rid of Google Hangouts. But if we can find a way to get it together, I'm sure we'll be happy to include James, Analogs Guru, in the live stream at some point in the future. I know James would like to do it, and I know a lot of you would like to hear from James as well. So definitely that is something that we're going to look into if it's possible. So we've also got Up the Polls saying, so good to listen to your Weather Outlook, Scav, and no mention of you know what, which drives me mad. So no, we take an agnostic view to climate change with Gaz Weathers. We neither support or deny, and I think that's held us in good stead over the years, actually. So we don't get into that. We're purely here to be forecasting the weather and to give you the information that you want in terms of what the weather is likely to be doing, and we stay away from all of that climate change stuff. And as I say, I think that's held us in pretty good stead, actually, over the years. We don't do controversy or politics at Gaz Weatherviz. Lilac Floyd is with us saying, random question, how much memory does your computer have? The amount of tabs you have open in your winter updates will probably cripple my computer. So we actually didn't have as many tabs this week, Lilac. I think we only had just over 50, had around 51 or 52, I think, although the video still ran for an hour, but that was because I did that quite long section about the QBO that I wanted to get in, because I had seen a few people worrying that we're going to get another failure of the easterly QBO, and I think that's very unlikely. So I wanted to get that in, and it did delay the video a little bit. I was in two minds about whether to have that section in this fall winter update, but I thought it was important to get that in. But no, it's just a random computer. It's a 64-bit computer. Actually, Camtasia has been going a bit slow, though, over the past week when I've been recording videos. Not when I've been recording videos, when I've stopped the video and it has to then create the file. There's been quite a lag going on with Camtasia, which is the software I use to record the screen and record the videos. So maybe the computer's starting to slow down. It's around 5 years old now, so it could be that the computer's beginning to slow down. But otherwise, everything's been running fine, and we haven't had too much in the way of refreshing of the tabs with these winter updates so far, thankfully. So we've also got Toby Scott with us. Hi Gav, great videos as always. Thanks so much, Toby, for tuning in on this sunny afternoon, nearly sunny evening. I'm going to wrap up the live stream in a couple of minutes. I'm going to have to go off and write up the written version of the winter update. So thanks so much, though, for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Savvy is with us. To be honest, I've had enough of the warm weather now. A bit of cold weather here would be most welcome. So it has been quite warm, although centering the temperature isn't anything particularly special. We've had relatively warm days being offset by quite cold nights. So certainly from a Central England temperature perspective, it's not been a particularly warm September at all. But yeah, I think a lot of people are ready for a more autumnal type feel. It's going to get a more autumnal feel this week, I think. So it's going to be kind of windier, there's going to be more rain around, there's going to be more showers around, there's going to be a lot more going on. So from a weather perspective, it will be quite a interesting week compared to what we've had over the past two or 3 weeks, and there will definitely be a little bit more to discuss. And I think really that wraps it up. So again, we've still got 81 people watching us as we come to the end of this live stream discussing the fourth winter 2019-2020 update. So thank you so much to all of you for tuning in this afternoon. And I think we say this evening now. Yeah, so we're going to end the live stream there. Keep in touch with the videos over the next few days at the channel and at gavslovis.com. As I say, it's going to be a more interesting week's worth of weather. There will be more going on. And, of course, we have still a very active tropical Atlantic as well that we'll be talking about in the weekly updates. As I've said through this live stream, we'll have the first seasonal roundup for the winter of 2019-2020 for you on Saturday. That'll be the first video up on Saturday morning, so that'll get all of the long-range ones together. We'll see how many of them are going for a warm winter. And then on Sunday, we'll, of course, have the next winter update, the fifth winter update. That's going to, amongst all of the other things you look at, going to also have more analogues for the... For summer, we can look at summer rainfall and during summer 2019 and summers that had similar summer rainfall and what the winters were like that followed those summers. So that will be the focus, at least a start anyway, of the fifth winter 2019-2020 update. That will be coming up next Sunday. And of course, there'll be another live stream to go with that winter update as well on Sunday evening next week. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm going to end the live stream there, so enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. If you're waiting for the written version of the fourth winter update, that will be placed on the winter updates page. You can have a bit of tea and then I'll get it wrote up, so it'll probably be around 8 o'clock, I would have thought, something like that, and you'll be able to have a read of that and watch the video on demand at gavslovis.com whenever you would like to do that. That's the end of our live stream for this week, though. Thanks so much for tuning in, and good evening. Thanks so much for listening.